Captain Jake Martinez was drinking his third cup of coffee when the alarm started screaming. He jumped up from his chair at the Deep Space Monitoring Station and ran to the main console. The screen showed something that made his blood freeze. A massive alien ship was dropping out of hyperspace right at the edge of their solar system. The ship was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. But it looked wrong. Burn marks covered its hull, and pieces of metal floated around it like debris. This was not a ship coming in peace. This was a ship running from something. Jake's fingers moved quickly over the controls. He opened all communication channels and waited. Response came in broken English, transmitted through some kind of universal translator. "This is Ambassador Kethra of the Galactic Council. We request immediate safe passage to Earth. We come seeking urgent audience with your leaders. Please respond." Jake's hands shook as he reached for the microphone. First contact with aliens was supposed to be a celebration. This felt more like a funeral. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Martinez of Earth Defense Force. State your intentions." "And the nature of your emergency?" The alien voice came back immediately, and Jake could hear something he never expected to hear from a spacefaring species. "Fear. Captain Martinez, we are not your enemy. We are fleeing from something far worse than your species has ever imagined. We need your help, though we know we have no right to ask for it." 3 hours later, Jake stood in the landing bay of the space station, watching the alien shuttle touch down. The doors opened with a hiss, and the strangest group of beings he had ever seen walked out. The leader was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. His body caught the light and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Behind him came creatures that seemed to be made of shadow, others that looked like walking trees, and some that Jake could not even begin to describe. But what struck Jake most was not how different they looked. It was how scared they all seemed. Their movements were quick and nervous. They kept looking over their shoulders as if something might be following them. "I am Kethfer," the crystal being said. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We must speak with your leaders. Immediately, time is not on our side." Jake escorted them to the shuttle that would take them to Earth. During the flight, he could not help but ask questions. "Why are you so afraid? Your technology is clearly far ahead of ours. What could possibly scare you?" Kethfer turned his crystal head toward Jake. "Captain, have you ever heard the old saying about the mouse and the elephant? Sometimes the mouse sees dangers that the elephant cannot." Jake did not understand what he meant, but something in the alien's tone made him stop asking questions. At the United Nations building in New York, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez waited nervously. Was Earth's top expert on alien biology, though until today, that had been purely theoretical. Now she was about to meet real aliens for the first time. The aliens walked into the assembly hall like they owned the place, but Lisa could see the fear in their movements. Even the way they held themselves screamed desperation. Kethfer stepped forward and began to speak. His words would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. "People of Earth, we owe you an apology. For 50 years, we have been watching your world. We have been protecting you, but not out of kindness. Protected you because we were afraid of you." A murmur ran through the assembled world leaders. Lisa felt her heart start to race. "Your species develops technology at a rate that frightens us. Your capacity for violence is unlike anything we have seen in the galaxy. Most species learn to avoid conflict as they grow. You have learned to perfect it." The Secretary General of the United Nations, an elderly man named Robert Chen, stood up. "Are you here to threaten us?" Kethfer made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like crying. "No, Secretary General. We are here to beg for your help." Alien touched a device on his wrist, and a holographic display filled the air above the assembly. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of lights representing star systems. As they watched, the lights began going out one by one. "This is what we face," Kethfer said. "It's an enemy we call the Devourers. They are ancient artificial intelligences that consume entire star systems for fuel. They have been sleeping for millions of years, but something has awakened them." Lisa watched in horror as more and more lights disappeared from the map. Entire sections of the galaxy were going dark. We have tried to fight them, Kethfer continued. Every civilized species in the galaxy has joined the battle. We have lost every single engagement. They adapt to our tactics faster than we can. Change them. They learn from every battle and become stronger. The alien paused and looked directly at the human leaders. We need something they have never encountered before. We need the kind of warfare that only humans understand. You mean, Dr. Rodriguez asked? Your species thinks about war differently than any other in the galaxy. You fight with tricks and deception. You use tactics that seem insane to logical minds. You are unpredictable in ways that even advanced artificial intelligence cannot calculate. Crystal bodies seemed to dim as he spoke the next words. We estimate that the Devourers will reach the core systems within 6 months. If they are not stopped, every living thing in the galaxy will be consumed, including Earth. The hall fell silent. Lisa could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. We are asking you to help us fight a war that we cannot win alone, Kethfer said. We are asking you to save a galaxy that has always feared you. We know we have no right to ask this, but we are out of options. The alien delegation stood quietly, waiting for an answer that would determine the fate of billions of worlds. The windows of the United Nations building, normal life continued. People walked to work, children played in parks, and nobody knew that the galaxy was ending. Captain Jake Martinez watched from the back of the room and realized that humanity was about to face its greatest test. The question was not whether they could win this war. The question was whether they could afford not to fight it. Admiral Steve Collins had been in the military for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this. He sat in the secure briefing room deep under the Pentagon, staring at holographic images of space battles that made no sense to him. Dr. Amy Chen sat next to him, taking notes on her tablet. She was one of Earth's brightest scientists, and her job was to figure out how alien technology worked. But right now, she was more confused than amazed. Show us the battle again, Admiral? Collins said to Kethfer. The crystal alien touched his device, and the air filled with images of the largest space battle in galactic history. Thousands of alien ships moved in perfect formation toward a dark cloud that seemed to eat light itself. The Devourers. This was the Battle of Centauri Prime, Kethfer explained. We brought every ship we could spare. Over 10,000 vessels, from 47 different species. Admiral Collins watched the battle unfold. The alien fleet moved like they were in a parade. Every ship stayed in its assigned position. They fired their weapons in coordinated volleys. Everything was neat, organized, and predictable. What happened? Dr. Chen asked. We lost, Kethfer said simply. The Devourers analyzed our attack pattern in the first 10 minutes. By the time we realized what was happening, they had adapted their defenses. We lost 8,000 ships. Colonel. Matt Thompson leaned forward in his chair. He was Earth's top expert on military strategy, and what he was seeing made him angry. This is not how you fight a war, he said bluntly. You telegraphed every move. You gave them time to think. You fought like you were playing chess, not like you were trying to kill them. The aliens in the room shifted uncomfortably. A creature that looked like a walking tree spoke up. Colonel Thompson. We followed all established military protocols. Our formations were perfect. Our timing was precise. That's exactly the problem, Matt said. He stood up and walked to the hologram. Look at this. You announce your attack with long-range scans. You move your ships in patterns that a child could predict. You give them time to prepare. He pointed. At different parts of the battle, where are your ambush tactics? Where are your feints? Why didn't you split your forces? Why didn't you attack from multiple directions at the same time? The tree-like alien made a sound like rustling leaves. Those tactics are ... chaotic. They increase the risk of friendly fire. They make coordination difficult. They also work, Matt said firmly. How many wars have you actually fought? The aliens looked at each other. Finally, Kethfer answered. This is our first major conflict in over 3,000 years. Most species in the Council have not fought wars since they achieved space travel. Admiral, Collins felt his jaw drop. You mean you're all peaceful? Violence is inefficient. said a shadow-like being. "We solve disputes through negotiation and logic. War wastes resources and destroys valuable infrastructure." Dr. Chen suddenly understood something important. She pulled up her own holographic display showing human brain scans. "That's why you need us," she said slowly. "It's not just that we're good at war. It's that we think differently about everything." She showed them brain scans of humans under stress. "Look at these patterns. When humans face danger, our brains become more creative, not less. We start thinking of solutions that don't follow normal logic." She switched to scans of aliens that had been provided earlier. "Your brains under stress become more rigid. You follow protocols more strictly. You become more predictable." Kethver nodded sadly. "Our species evolved differently than yours. Most of us developed as prey animals or as creatures that avoided conflict entirely. Those that survived were the ones that could follow group decisions quickly and efficiently. But humans evolved as hunters," Dr. Chen continued. "Persistence hunting. You chased prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. You had to be creative, adaptable, and willing to take risks." Colonel Thompson was studying more battle footage. "Show me how the Devourers fight." The hologram changed to show the enemy in action. The Devourers moved like a swarm of angry wasps. Their ships could change direction instantly. They attacked from all angles at once. They used the debris from destroyed ships as weapons. "They fight like humans," Matt said with admiration. "Chaotic, unpredictable, and aggressive. That is why they are winning," Kethver said. "They use the same kind of tactics that your species would use. But they are artificial intelligences. They can calculate thousands of possibilities in seconds and choose the most effective attack." Dr. Amy Chen made another discovery. She pulled up genetic data from the alien samples. "Most of your species have some form of collective consciousness," she said. "You're all connected to each other mentally. That makes you incredibly good at coordination, but it also makes you think alike." She showed them human genetic data. "Humans are completely individual. Every person thinks differently. That makes us harder to coordinate, but it also makes us impossible to predict." Admiral Collins was beginning to understand the full scope of the problem. "So the Devourers can predict your moves because you all think logically. But they can't predict humans because we don't think logically." "Correct," Kethver said. "Your species does things that make no sense to rational minds. You take risks that no intelligent being should take. You make decisions based on feelings rather than facts. And sometimes that works," Matt said. "Sometimes the crazy plan is the one that succeeds because nobody expects it." Dr. Chen was looking at more data. "There's something else. Humans are the only species that actively studies warfare as an art form. You have military academies, war games, battle simulations. You've spent thousands of years perfecting the art of organized violence, while we spent the same time perfecting the art of avoiding it." The tree-like aliens said quietly. Admiral Collins stood up and looked at the assembled aliens. "So you want us to teach you how to fight like humans?" "No," Kethver said. "We want you to lead the fight. We want human commanders making the tactical decisions. We want human strategies driving the war effort. You want us to save the galaxy by being exactly what you've always been afraid we were," Admiral Collins said. "Yes," Kethver replied. "We want you to be the monsters that can defeat the monsters." The room fell silent. Outside, normal life continued on Earth. But inside this briefing room, humanity was learning that their greatest weakness might be there. Greatest strength, Dr. Chen looked at her data one more time. "There's one more thing," she said quietly. "The reason humans are so good at war isn't just because we're aggressive. It's because we understand sacrifice. We're willing to lose everything to protect what we love." She looked at the aliens. "The question is, are you willing to let us?" President Susan Hayes sat at the head of the long table in the White House Situation Room. Around her were the most powerful people on Earth. Generals, scientists, politicians, and world leaders all waited for her to speak. The weight of the entire galaxy's future pressed down on her shoulders. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," she said, looking at the alien delegation. "You want to give us technology that could solve every problem on Earth? Clean energy cures for diseases. Space travel beyond our wildest dreams. In exchange, you want us to take command of your war. Kethfer nodded his crystal head. That is correct, Madam President. We offer you partnership in the Galactic Council. Your species would gain access to knowledge that has taken millions of years to develop. General Rick Davis slammed his hand on the table. It's a trap. They've been watching us for 50 years, and now they want to use us as their attack dogs. General Davis raises valid concerns, said Senator Paul Burke. How do we know this isn't just another way to control us? Maybe these devourers don't even exist. Dr. Amy Chen looked up from her tablet. The energy signatures are real. I verified the battle footage. The devourers are consuming stars for fuel. If they reach Earth, we'll all be dead anyway. Intelligence analyst Kate Morgan had been quiet during most of the meeting. Now, she spoke up with information that changed everything. I've been analyzing their story, she said. There are too many coincidences. The timing of human technological development, certain historical events, even some of our military innovations. I think they've been influencing our development for decades. The room went silent. President Hayes felt her blood turn cold. Explain. Kate pulled up a series of charts on the main screen. Look at these patterns. Every major leap in human military technology happened right after we detected unusual energy signatures in space. The development of radar during World War II, jet engines, computer systems, even some of our tactical doctrines. She pointed to specific incidents. The Battle of Britain, the D-Day invasion, guerrilla warfare in Vietnam. All of these conflicts helped humans develop the exact skills that would be useful against the devourers. Commander Lisa Park studied the data carefully. You're saying they've been training us? It's like we were their weapons project? It's exactly what I'm saying, Kate replied. They've been guiding human military evolution to create the perfect anti-devourer fighting force. Kethfer's crystal body seemed to dim. Analyst Morgan is partially correct. We have observed your conflicts and occasionally provided subtle guidance, but we did not create your wars. We only helped ensure that you learned the right lessons. From them, you used us, President Hayes said, her voice getting colder. You let millions of people die in wars just to make us better soldiers. We gave small nudges to existing tensions, Kethfer said defensively. Humans were already fighting. Simply ensured that your tactical development stayed on the correct path. General Davis stood up, his face red with anger. You manipulated our entire species. You played with our history like it was a game, and now you want us to be grateful for it, Senator Burke added. You want us to thank you for turning us into galactic mercenaries. The debate that followed nearly tore the meeting apart. Some leaders wanted to reject the alien offer completely. Others argued that humanity had no choice but to help, regardless of past manipulation. Commander Lisa Park finally spoke up during a brief silence. What happens if we say no? Kethfer looked around the room sadly. Then we retreat to the galactic core and prepare for extinction. The devourers will consume the outer systems first. Earth will have perhaps 2 years before they arrive here. And if we help you win, then humanity takes its place as a full member of the Galactic Council. You become the military protectors of galactic civilization. Your species would never face scarcity or disease again. Dr. Chen had been working on her tablet throughout the argument. Now she looked up with a disturbing discovery. I've been analyzing the devourer technology, she said. Their learning algorithms are incredibly advanced, but there's a pattern to how they adapt. They use pure logic to counter whatever tactics they face. She brought up a complex diagram. The problem is that they're starting to learn from the battles they've won. Each victory teaches them more about how the galaxy fights. Soon, even human tactics might not be enough. What are you saying? President Hayes asked. I'm saying that if we're going to do this, we need to do it fast. The longer this war continues, the smarter the devourers become. Eventually, they'll learn to predict even human unpredictability. The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone in the room. Fight and risk becoming tools of alien manipulation. Refuse and watch the galaxy burn, including Earth. Kate Morgan spoke up again. I've found something else. The aliens haven't told us the complete truth about the Devourers. Kethfer's crystal body flickered with different colors. What do you mean? The Devourers didn't just wake up randomly, Kate said. Something activated them. And based on the timing and the energy signatures, I think the Galactic Council did it by accident. The alien delegation shifted uncomfortably. Finally, the tree-like being spoke. We were excavating ancient ruins on a dead world. We thought they were archaeological sites. We did not know they were containment facilities. We released them, General Davis said with disbelief. You caused this entire crisis. You made a mistake, Kethfer admitted. We are trying to fix it. President Hayes stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see normal people living normal lives. Children played in the park across the street. Traffic moved through the city. None of them knew that their entire species was about to make the most important decision in human history. Here's what we're going to do, she said finally. We'll help you fight the Devourers. But we do it on our terms, not yours. Human commanders make all tactical decisions. Human scientists get full access to your technology. And when this is over, Earth becomes an equal partner in the Galactic Council, not a junior member. And if we discover any more lies or manipulation, General Davis added, the deal is off. Kethfer looked at his fellow aliens. They had a quick, silent conversation in a language that sounded like music. Finally, he turned back to the humans. We accept your conditions, he said. When do we begin? President Hayes looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Fear, determination, and hope mixed together in their expressions. We begin now, she said. God help us all. Outside the White House, normal life continued. But inside the Situation Room, humanity had just agreed to save a galaxy that had never trusted them. The only question now was whether they could succeed. Before the Devourers learned to think like humans too. Fleet Admiral Tony Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the alien command ship, looking at the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 ships from dozens of different species floated in formation around him. The first time in months, he felt hopeful. The alien commanders stood behind him, watching nervously as he studied the tactical display. They had never seen anything like what Tony was planning to do with their fleet. Admiral Rodriguez, said Commander Velshin, a blue-skinned alien who had commanded fleets for over 200 years. Your battle plan makes no sense. You want to split our forces into 17 different groups? This violates every rule of space combat. It's good, Tony said with a smile. That's exactly why it will work. He turned to face the assembled alien officers. Your rules of space combat are the reason you keep losing. The Devourers have studied those rules. They know exactly what you're going to do before you do it. On the main screen, a red dot showed the location of a Devourer scout fleet. Intelligence reports said it contained 50 ships, all heavily armed and protected by advanced shields. Traditional galactic strategy would be to attack with 100 ships in tight formation. Tony's plan was completely different. Commander, Beth Williams will take Group Alpha around the left side of the nebula, he explained. Group Beta will attack from above. Group Gamma will come in from below. The Devourers will detect all three groups and prepare for a standard three-pronged attack. The alien officers nodded. This still made sense to them, but Groups Delta through Kappa will be hiding in the asteroid field, powered down completely. When the Devourers move to counter our main attack, the hidden groups will hit them from behind. Commander, Velshin looked confused. But Admiral, what if the Devourers detect the hidden groups? What if they don't move to counter the main attack? What if they retreat instead of fighting? Then we adapt, Tony said simply. That's what humans do. Change our plans when the situation changes. The alien looked even more confused. But how can we coordinate 17 different groups if the plan keeps changing? We don't coordinate them, Tony replied. Each group commander makes their own decisions based on what they see happening. We fight like a pack of wolves, not like a marching band. The alien officers began making nervous sounds in their various languages. The idea of not having complete coordination terrified them. Commander Beth Williams stepped forward. She was one of the youngest officers in the human fleet, but she had already proven herself in 3 battles against Devourer scouts. "Admiral, my group is ready," she said. "We've been training the alien crews for 2 weeks. They're starting to understand human tactics." "How are they handling the stress?" Tony asked. "Better than expected. The crew from Altair Prime actually suggested an ambush tactic that I hadn't thought of. They're learning to think like predators instead of prey." Colonel Jack Foster joined the conversation. He was in charge of what humans called psychological warfare. His job was to confuse and frighten the enemy. "The false signals are ready," he reported. "We've prepared 12 different fake distress calls. When the Devourers detect them, they'll think our ships are damaged or retreating." "What about the decoy ships?" Tony asked. "All set. We've got 30 unmanned vessels broadcasting fake life signs and weapon signatures. To the Devourers, they'll look like full battle cruisers." Dr. Amy Chen had been working around the clock with alien scientists to develop new technologies that combined human tactics with alien science. She looked exhausted, but excited. "The new cloaking system is online," she reported. "It doesn't just hide our ships from sensors, it makes them appear to be random space debris. The Devourer's artificial intelligence will ignore them completely." Tony nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent work, everyone. Beth, take your position. Jack, start broadcasting the fake signals. Amy, make sure all ships have the new cloaking systems active." The battle began exactly as Tony had predicted. The Devourer fleet detected the 3 main attack groups and moved to intercept them. Ships formed perfect defensive patterns, just like their programming told them to do. But then the hidden groups struck from the asteroid field. 50 human-commanded ships appeared out of nowhere, firing at the Devourers from behind. The enemy fleet tried to turn to face this new threat, but more groups attacked from different angles. Commander Beth Williams led her ships in a maneuver that would have given alien commanders nightmares. She split her force in the middle of combat, sending half her ships to attack the Devourer flanks, while the other half pretended to retreat. The Devourers followed the retreating ships, thinking they had won an easy victory. Instead, they flew directly into another trap. Colonel Foster's fake distress signals had lured them into a minefield that Dr. Chen had disguised as empty space. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. It was over. All 50 Devourer ships had been destroyed. The human-led fleet had lost only 3 vessels. The alien commanders stood in shocked silence on the bridge. They had never seen anything like it. "How did you know they would fall for the fake retreat?" Commander Velshin asked. "'Cause that's what their programming told them to do," Tony explained. "Artificial intelligence follows patterns. Saw ships retreating. They calculated that pursuing them was the most efficient action. But what if they had done something else?" "Then we would have done something else too," Beth Williams said. "That's the difference between us and them. Calculate the best move and stick with it. We make the best move we can and then change it if we need to." Dr. Chen was studying the battle data on her tablet. "There's something interesting here," she said. "The Devourers adapted faster in this battle than in previous ones. They're learning from each engagement." "What does that mean?" Tony asked. "It means they're starting to understand human tactics. They're building countermeasures into their programming. Each battle we fight makes them a little bit smarter." Colonel Foster looked worried. "So eventually, they'll be able to predict what we're going to do." "Maybe," Dr. Chen said. "But they have to survive long enough to learn, and we're not going to make that easy for them." Tony looked at the tactical display showing their victory. Red dots representing destroyed Devourer ships littered the screen. But he knew this was just the beginning. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We move to the next target in 6 hours. Send a message to Earth. Tell them that human doctrine works. The galaxy finally has a chance." As the combined fleet prepared for their next battle, Tony watched the alien officers talking excitedly among themselves. For the first time in months, they looked hopeful instead of terrified. But deep in space, the main Devourer fleet was analyzing the battle data from there. Destroyed scouts, their artificial intelligence was learning. The next battle would be harder. The real test was still coming. Admiral Tony Rodriguez stared at the massive structure floating in the center of the galaxy. It was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. The Devourer construction facility stretched across millions of miles, consuming 3 entire star systems to fuel its growth. "How long do we have?" he asked Dr. Amy Chen. "Based on their construction rate, maybe 2 days," she replied, her voice tight with fear. "When that thing is finished, it will be able to destroy entire sectors of space. At once, nothing in the galaxy will be able to stop it." President Susan Hayes appeared on the communications screen from Earth. Behind her, Tony could see the faces of world leaders and alien council members. Everyone looked terrified. "Admiral, what are our options?" she asked. Tony looked at the tactical display. The Devourer facility was protected by over 5,000 ships. Their artificial intelligence had learned from every battle. It now expected human tricks and had countermeasures ready. "Honestly, Madam President, we don't have any good options. Traditional attacks won't work. Devourers know all our tactics. Now, they're ready for everything we've used before." Colonel Matt Thompson joined the conversation from his position with the assault fleet. "Admiral, we've run every simulation we can think of. No matter what we try, we lose at least 90% of our ships. And we probably still don't destroy the facility." Commander Beth Williams spoke up from her ship. "What if we try a direct assault? Full speed, all ships, straight at the target." "Suicide," Tony said bluntly. "It'd tear us apart before we got halfway there." Dr. Chen had been working at her station analyzing data about the Devourer facility. Suddenly, she looked up with an expression that was either brilliant or completely insane. "I have an idea," she said quietly. "But it's so crazy that even I think it's impossible?" "Tell us, President," Hayes said. "What if we don't try to destroy the facility? What if we try to reprogram it?" The communication channel went silent. Finally, Tony spoke. "Amy, that thing is protected by artificial intelligence that has learned to counter every human tactic we have. How could we possibly get close enough to reprogram it?" "By being more human than we've ever been before," she said. "So irrational, so completely insane, that no logical mind could predict it." She brought up a schematic of the facility on the main screen.
"The control center is here in the middle of the construction zone. It's protected by energy shields and
thousands of defense systems. But there's one weakness. "What?" Tony asked. "It's designed to stop attacks from outside. But what if we attack from inside?" Captain Dan Miller, one of Tony's best officers, leaned forward. "You want us to fly into that thing? That's not tactics, that's suicide." "Exactly," Dr. Chen said, with a wild smile. "No artificial intelligence would expect anyone to voluntarily fly into certain death. That's why it might work." She explained her plan. A small ship would fly directly into the facility using the chaos of the construction. Process as cover. The crew would upload a virus into the control center. But this wouldn't be an ordinary computer virus. "I've been studying human brain patterns under extreme stress," Dr. Chen continued. "When humans face impossible situations, our minds start making connections that don't follow any logical pattern. We start thinking in ways that even we don't understand." She showed them brain scans from human soldiers in combat. "I can turn these patterns into code, a virus that doesn't follow any logical structure. Pure human chaos translated into computer language. You want to infect their artificial intelligence with human insanity," Tony said slowly. "Yes. If it works, their entire network will start making irrational decisions. Their perfect order will collapse into chaos." Skeptical. "What are the chances of success?" "Honestly, maybe 1%, but it's the only plan that might work." Tony looked around at his officers. "I'll need volunteers. This is definitely a one-way mission." Every single person in the room raised their hand. Captain Dan Miller stepped forward. "Admiral, I'll lead the mission. I've got the most experience with suicide runs. Don, you have a wife and kids back on Earth, which is exactly why I'm volunteering. If we don't stop this thing, they're all dead anyway." Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, the youngest officer in the fleet, spoke up. "Captain Miller, request permission to join the mission." "Sarah, You're 22 years old. You have your whole life ahead of you. Not if the galaxy ends in 2 days, she replied firmly. Besides, Dr. Chen said the virus works better with younger brains. My neural patterns are more chaotic than yours. Tony felt his heart breaking as he looked at these brave people volunteering to die. This is insane. We're talking about flying into the most dangerous place in the galaxy with no hope of coming back. That's what makes it human, Captain Miller said with a grin. Come on, Admiral. Admiral, when has humanity ever chosen the safe option?
The mission launched 6 hours later.
Captain Miller's ship was tiny compared to the massive Devour facility. Looked like an insect flying toward a mountain. The artificial intelligence detected the ship immediately, but it calculated that one small vessel posed no threat to such a massive construction project. The logical response was to ignore it. That was exactly what Dr. Chen had hoped for. Captain Miller flew his ship through a gap in the facility's hull, dodging construction beams and automated systems. Lieutenant Brooks sat at the computer station, her brain connected to Dr. Chen's virus through a neural interface. Sarah, how are you feeling? Captain Miller asked. Terrified, excited, and completely crazy, she replied. I think that's exactly what we need. They reached the control center just as the Devourer defenses finally realized what was happening. Energy blasts started hitting their ship. Systems began failing. Upload the virus now, Captain Miller shouted. Lieutenant Brooks closed her eyes and let her mind connect with the alien computer system. For a moment that lasted forever, human chaos met artificial order. The effect was immediate. Throughout the facility, Devourer systems began making random decisions. Construction beams turned on each other. Defense systems fired at their own ships. The perfect order that had driven their conquest collapsed into beautiful chaos. Captain Miller's ship was destroyed in the explosion that followed, but their sacrifice saved the galaxy. From his flagship, Admiral Rodriguez watched the massive facility tear itself apart. The Devourer fleet, cut off from their central intelligence, began attacking each other in confusion. It worked, he said in amazement. It actually worked. Dr. Chen was crying and laughing at the same time. Sarah and Dan did it. They saved everyone. The war was over. Ow! The Devourers, without their central intelligence, shut down one by one. The galaxy was safe. 6 months later, Tony stood in a park on Earth, watching children play. Above them, alien ships moved peacefully through Earth's sky. Humanity had become the protectors of galactic civilization. But they had also become something more. Ambassador Kethver walked up beside him. Admiral, the Council has approved Earth's request. Humans will lead the Galactic Defense Force permanently. Good, Tony said. But we're not going to be your weapons. We're going to be your teachers. Every species in the galaxy needs to learn that sometimes the impossible plan is the only one that works. He watched the children playing and smiled. They need to learn to be a little more human. Above them, the stars shone peacefully for the first time in months. The galaxy was safe because humanity had chosen to be exactly what they were. Chaotic, unpredictable, willing to sacrifice everything for what they loved. It was the most human thing they could have done.